So it's a typical March storm setting up for tomorrow, and it does have some severe weather threats to it. I want to go through how those have changed and what I think the things are to pay attention to as we head toward tomorrow. I think it goes like this. I think after midnight tonight, I think some light showers pick up across our area. I think the winds will be gusty on and off. The winds are the problem all the way throughout this event. But I think headed toward the early morning hours tomorrow, and definitely by 8 a.m., I think we have heavier storms moving through in a cluster, and then we have a big rain shield of just off and on heavy rain with some wind tomorrow morning. And then I think we clear out for a little bit. And then the afternoon is the time frame I'm keeping the eye on for a severe weather threat. And I'll show you the time frames and what I think might occur during those afternoon hours. I think it's mid to late afternoon that we need to pay attention to for severe weather. And then past all that, the winds are going to wrap around with a big snow band that is going to press into our area a little bit more than in this morning's forecast. And it's just going to be gusty winds with that snow all night. And the winds will really pick up headed overnight. And so that's basically how this whole thing goes. Here is our current severe weather map outlook. Sorry, I'm looking at too many different things. This hasn't changed too much since this morning, but this is looking for tomorrow. Of course, this is not for tonight. And here is the whole setup. Here is exactly what's going on. This is about right now. We have a low pressure system just about to make its way entirely into western Kansas. And as it does, it's going to become this closed, stacked low. And just kind of watch it. We're going to look at our area. Don't worry. But this is what it does as it moves across. I'm into the early morning hours tomorrow. This is actually about 3 a.m. when I see light rain. And then here I am moving towards 7, 8 a.m. when I see heavier, a little bit more organized activity in the morning like I was talking about. But look how that low just scoots right over our area. And as it does, look at that pressure gradient tightening. That's those black lines. And that means our wind starts to pick up as we move toward the backside. Here it is right now. This is a tight pressure gradient closing in on the backside of this, wrapping around this snow band. And look how that just keeps wrapping as this thing spins, as that low pressure takes off to the northeast. So that's kind of the overall situation. Let's look at our area a little bit more specifically. This is picking up about 1 a.m. tonight. Like I say, I think it's just spotty showers. I think with some gusty winds, a little bit of light rain on and off. Some get some and some get none. This is now 2 a.m. So now 3 a.m. 4, it's more of the same. I want to pick this up about 6, 7. Here we go. 8 a.m. This is the hour I'm looking at for a couple of lines. Hard to say exactly where this will be, but I'm going to stick with this data that shows in west central Missouri, we have a congealed cluster of these embedded thunderstorms. And so these, I don't see much more than they're fairly quickly moving. I see heavy downpours. I don't think these are a primary hail threat. If there is hail, it really won't exceed over quarter size, which I know is nothing to worry about. But I think that's a very limited threat for these storms that move through in the morning. And then later on throughout the morning, this is about 10 o'clock. This is the rain shield centered completely over our area. So some of us are going to have light rain. Some of us are going to have these pockets of heavier rain. And even as late as 10, 11, can't rule out some embedded thunderstorms. Those pick up a little bit more toward the east by about lunchtime here. And then so moving through noon, 1, I think what we start to have is the dry slot that I was showing you back on the zoomed out, centers over our area, headed into the early afternoon. And as it does, what we're going to watch for, one signal will be the skies. If there is cloud cover, if there is low cloud cover, I'm going to be less worried about severe weather. If the sky is clear, like a couple models are suggesting, that suggests the potential for atmospheric instability to build. And I do think that is a concern. So that starts to build up possibly in the early afternoon hours, which means that these storms that come through about, 3, 4 o'clock now, we should be able to look out in Kansas and see what is coming across. But if these storms do come together, they're going to be fast moving, but they will encounter pockets of whatever instability is able to get going headed into those afternoon hours. And so that's what we're going to be paying attention to is how many little cells do we have? How long do they stay together? They should be quickly moving. But if there is a period of time for too much instability to get going in the afternoon, we could really be looking at some severe activity where the primary threat would be winds, still strong damaging winds, but we can't rule out downbursts as well. This would be the environment that would lend itself to that. Those quick moving, really fast downdrafts is something we need to pay attention to as well. So I'm moving now towards 7 o'clock. Towards 8 o'clock, we start to look out here to our northwest, and we should start to see the transition. Most of us probably just having light rain. Severe threat is over, but look what the snow does headed towards 10, 11 o'clock. This is just going to wrap deeply, like I was showing you, and this is going to come all the way down across our area. It's going to hit east central Kansas briefly, but it appears to hang out as the back end of this with these strong winds and snow taking place, heavy at times. I'm looking now at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. It just keeps doing this. It keeps wrapping around. So points to the south, Fort Scott, Nevada, you get done with it first, but the wind is just going to press on. Winds during this particular time are picking up. We have strong wind gusts, potential power outage type wind gusts, and I'll probably be posting about that later this evening. We'll talk about that more tomorrow to see what that's going to do. So I'm up to Wednesday, 4 a.m., 5, 6, when I still see some flurries, but they're tapering off, and by 7 and 8, I think we're about done with that. So this is what I'm looking at for instability. The weather nerds out there, I'm looking at Surface Cape. This is HRRR model, which is the most optimistic about this, and these numbers are below 1,000, if that means something to you. I'm not seeing too many in any model above 1,000 going through this afternoon's data. So these are still significant. These will be fast moving, strong little cells, like I've been saying. But this is what has the potential possibly to build through the afternoon hours. And that's why I'm paying attention to that. Snow has crept up just a little bit due to, I think you can see it, the amount of time that those wraparound bands on the backside of the low are going to hang out. So what am I seeing? 1.1 inches maybe up in Kansas City, about an inch through most of Cass County. Bates County, I think we are half an inch, 0.4 to half an inch, something like that. Of course, down here at Fort Scott, Nevada, obviously left. So that's the profile for snow. We'll be able to check that again in the morning and see what's headed our way too. Similarly, rain totals are up. I'm seeing 1.72 inches in Cass County, 1.68 over towards Clinton. So inch and a half plus. There is this little corridor through east central Kansas headed north, slightly to the east, where if those particular thunderstorms hang out for any length of time, they will be efficient. And you guys could get up to over 2 inches, 2.4 suggested as possibility, just to the west of Kansas City. So those numbers have come up today. Let's look at temperature. Headed over into the overnight, we hang out in the upper 50s. We don't see a drop off until about the time, this is late Tuesday night where I'm at right here. This would be 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9, 10. When we go from 51 down to 38 in just a few hours, keeps pressing into the overnight, into the pre-dawn hours of Wednesday morning. And I see temps Wednesday will feel the effects of all this. I see 40, 39, 40, 41 probably be our going rate for temperatures on Wednesday as we feel all the cold air that's pressed in. We do bounce back a little bit. Not before Wednesday night into Thursday, dipping below freezing, as you can see, down to perhaps 23 in Butler for a low on Thursday morning. Pop back up to 48. 54 for Friday. I do see another system starting to flirt with our area for Friday. We'll take a look at that probably in the morning as well. So that is what I know. That is how things go. Here's the system. If I see watches, I will post about them. If I start to see warnings, I will get on here live and tell you all about them. We'll pull up the radar. You can watch the cams on the radar here with me, and we will get through it together. Appreciate you joining.